Welcome back to it. It is your feel-good breakfast show, Expresso, live right here on SABC3 on a beautiful Monday morning. Thank you so much for choosing to start the week off on a really good note. Now, we're talking relationships, and if you think about relationships and roles of relationships and family models over the last century, for example, you probably will have observed the transformation from men being the breadwinner and women staying at home to run the household to equalized status of career or even wealth or wealth creation. Now, these are instances, of course, and there are instances in which the woman is the breadwinner, which seems to be a newer phenomenon to navigate in the modern age.
Exactly. So today we're asking, do relationship roles change if the woman is the breadwinner? Now, the relationship architect, Shelley Lewin, is in the building to help us discuss this hot topic as we are in the midst of Women's Month, and we would love to hear your questions and your comments as well. So please do head over to our Facebook page. You can drop a comment on this post, and we will engage with you live.
Oh, Shelley, what a topic, what a topic. I mean, it's definitely a new dynamic, right, that we're seeing and we're hearing of a lot more now than we did, let's say, 10 years ago, for example.
Absolutely.
But how normalized are relationships where the woman is the breadwinner or the sole breadwinner in the relationship or in the household?
The most recent research shows that about just over a quarter of women in heterosexual dual income families earn more than their partners. But interestingly, about 70% of people that were interviewed said that they think that a good husband, the role of a good husband is to be the main provider. So even though we've come quite far in terms of gender inequality or gender equality, there seems to be some stigmas and gender roles, traditional gender roles that are quite entrenched in society still.
What is the effect on men in a relationship when a woman is the main breadwinner or the higher breadwinner in the family?
Well, I would say that it's quite old school thinking, but still quite prevalent for the man to feel inadequate in some way or that he's a failure in some way. But I do think that there's a couple of factors that contribute to how judgmental people are. So, for example, cultural expectations will make a big difference in terms of what the traditions are of the culture. Geographic location, interestingly enough, there's definitely some cities which are much more progressive and open to that role reversal, and some that are more conservative, and even age. So definitely the younger generation are much more comfortable with that role reversal and less judgmental about it.
And the idea of it sounds like one thing, but of course you've got to take it into practice, and it has to exist and live in real life and in real relationships every day. Do roles in a relationship, and especially in a household, change where the woman is the breadwinner?
Well, you know, I do think that regardless of gender roles, if one person is earning is a full-time, the sole breadwinner, then it would make sense for the person that's not working to take more responsibility in other roles. So how, you know, running of the home or caregiving. That I really think that we need to stop seeing it as the rand value of contribution, rather than the value or the contribution. You know, there are different currencies and ways in which we can contribute, and rands is maybe one of them. So I don't think that it's about who's doing it, but more about what makes the most sense for the couple.
What is the success rate of relationships where a woman is the main breadwinner?
Sure, I suppose, how would you define success, you know? So so for me, I define success in a relationship as spouses that are able to challenge, encourage and inspire each other to become the best version of themselves. So if a situation is that a husband is encouraging and supporting his wife because she's successful in her career and that makes her earn more, just happens to be that way, then I'd say that it's a very successful marriage if you have them supporting each other in that way, even though it may not be perceived that way by the external world. Other people may not judge it as successful. But if the two people living within that relationship feel supported and encouraged and loved and appreciated for who they are, they
Yeah.
can be themselves and become the best version of themselves, then I think that's success.
Yeah, and I think what most people might miss is the fact that sometimes it is a choice. It is a choice within the dynamic of a relationship to have it go in that way. And that's the conversation we're having this morning here. We want to hear from you. Do you think that roles do change or should change if the woman is the main breadwinner in the household? We'd like to hear from you. Our relationship architect is here and she's going to be answering some of your questions that you're posting through on our Facebook page. Leave those comments on Expresso Morning Show SABC3.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back to your Feel Good Breakfast Show. It's Expresso right here on SABC3. It's a Monday, and you know we always talk relationships on a Monday. Today, the relationship architect Shelley Lewin is in the hot seat to help us discuss the relationship dynamics between a couple where the woman is the breadwinner. And we'd love to hear your questions and comments, so you can head over to our Facebook page, drop us a comment on the post, and we will engage with you. Joining us on the couch is also top international tax attorney and law firm partner, someone you want on your side, Hanneke Farron, whose job requires her to know exactly what she needs in the right partner for her. Hanneke, so good to have you on the couch.
Good
Oh,
morning.
listen, two powerhouses here. I'm so
Absolutely.
excited.
Well, the conversation is definitely heating up, and there's so much interest being piqued on social media as well. But Hanneke, I have to ask you, with such a high-powered and demanding career, how have you found navigating relationships in your own personal life?
Look, the reality is our jobs are demanding, and there's a demand on our time.
Yeah.
I personally travel a lot, and clients are important. My practice is very important. But like I said to Shelley this morning as well, it's also given me an opportunity to see new places and meet new people. So, you know, it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
It hopefully makes you a more interesting partner because you've got so many different experiences as well.
I love that. What advice would you give to a man and a woman in a relationship where both of them are struggling with the fact that the woman is the breadwinner? Because I'm sure it's a struggle for both of them in terms of maybe mindsets, how we grew up traditionally, and having to kind of, you know, find our way through that dynamic.
Look, I think there are two levels. On an emotional level, I would just say very simply, just be kind to each other and support each other and accept each other for who they are and for what their passions are. From a practical level, what I find is just help each other out, you know, lighten the burden, be available and do simple. You know, the solution is often in just checking that the Wi-Fi at home works. You know, it doesn't need to be that complicated always.
Yeah. Simplify it and find what works. But Shelley, what are some of the ways in which couples can healthily address disparities in financial status?
Well, I do think that money is a particularly tricky topic. It's like the elephant in the room that no one really wants to talk about.
Yeah.
So if they need to get additional or external support, definitely, before it becomes a huge issue between the two of them. And I'd say there really does need to reassess the roles and responsibilities so that it makes sense for the two of them. You know, it's all good and well to say, no, the husband should be out there working. But if he's earning less, that doesn't make sense for the couple, you know. So maybe just reassess the roles and responsibilities of the whole family. And also to, you really need to be able to communicate. And I think that Hanneke pointed to something very valid there, which is about being kind to each other. You know, it is out of the norm. And so to be able to communicate and say how you're feeling, and if the male is feeling inadequate or a failure in some way, for him to be able to be vulnerable enough to communicate that and share that, and for the two of them to talk through these topics. That's the really communication, quality, positive and effective communication. There's all types of communication. You know, quality communication.
Constructive.
Exactly. About how can we make our way through this, you know, and is it really, it only needs to be a problem if one person is choosing to make it a problem. It doesn't have to be a problem.
Yeah, I find in this day and age, and maybe it's just me, is that so many of us live our lives for the spectators.
Yes.
So there's what other people are going to say.
Yes,
A couple can be
absolutely.
completely fine with the situation,
Yeah.
except everybody else says, oh no, that's
lady
not
next
right.
door.
Yes.
Exactly. Should society's approach to this kind of situation, does that need to change? Is that where it can start to help two people who are just trying to live their best lives do exactly
Absolutely. You know, I mean, it wasn't that long ago where multiracial couples were a big taboo,
Exactly.
or even homosexual couples. It was
Yeah.
like, you know, shock
Yeah,
horror.
yeah.
So it's a little bit like that. It's like we, as a society in general, need to
Yeah.
catch up to this progressive world that we live in, and I just think that we have enough problems, real issues to deal with, that I understand the archetype, the general archetype of the male being the protector and provider, but there's enough other serious stuff in the world to deal with, that your home should be a safe haven, that it's the place
100%.
where you can be yourself and be supported, and things like that where there's ego and competition involved really should probably be like, take a look in the mirror and forget what other people are saying. You know, do what's going to work best for the team, for the two
for
of
the
you.
team, for the partnership, the two
Exactly.
partners. Well, it's such an interesting conversation. We've even had people come through on social media, and you know, with their comments and their questions. Here's Clint Vragon saying, yes, of course I do. She's my wife, my everything. I do trust her completely. And as soon as I said I do, that's when you become one as a married couple. So all decisions are made together and you share
Absolutely.
everything in that space. But we also had Danny Moreo who said we share everything and we love each other, but I don't know how much she earns. So very interesting conversations around the dynamics and how people are managing this within their own relationships. But I think it's certainly one that needs to be opened up.
Well, thank you so much, Shelley. Thank you so much,
it's a
Hanneke, for
pleasure.
being here with us. And of course, it's always wonderful to be delving into these relationship dynamics that so many people I know are struggling with. And it's always great to hear tips from the experts in the industry. Well, that's
pleasure.
wonderful. There you go. A breadwinning woman in a relationship is only a problem when someone in the relationship chooses to make it a problem.
Yeah.
I would be like, yeah, I'd be living my best life.
Take me shopping.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
When you hear that, you know we're talking relationships. It is Relationship Monday, and today, the relationship architect, Shelley Lewin, along with top international tax attorney and law firm partner, Hanneke Farrand, is in studio this morning. They're on the hot seat, and we're discussing the relationship dynamics between a couple where the woman is the breadwinner. And we would love to hear your question and comments, so head over to our Facebook page, drop a comment on this post, and we will engage with you like right about now.
We're engaging with you right now, looking at those comments that you have put through on our Facebook page. Leanne van der Walt says, no, we don't keep ours separate. So the question was, do you share what you earn with your partner? And Leanne van der Walt says, no, we don't. We keep ours separate, so they don't share that information. Litole or Ditole Chifiwa says, good morning. Only if he shares with me what he earns, I can share with him. So you share first. And N Nsele Mangete says, good morning. Yes, he knows my salary, but he doesn't know my bank balance. Wink, wink. Oh, sneaky, sneaky. And Takura Philip Noyes says, morning Expresso team, only if she is also open, we can share.
Well, seeing as though we've got Shelley and Hanneke, what's your thoughts on this? Do you share, do you disclose what you earn in a relationship?
I think it is important.
Yeah.
When you share a home,
Yeah.
there must be transparency.
Okay.
My one friend says she has a squirrel fund, so she doesn't always share.
Okay.
She's also a professional woman, which I think is not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
But the right answer is that you should be completely
Yeah,
transparent.
I suppose it is through this transparency, or level of transparency, that you're then able to determine who the breadwinner is in the household.
Absolutely.
But
Exactly.
Hanneke, I have to ask you, considering that you have two children, and what does this dynamic then play out like with two children in the household? You've got a high-powered job, you've got two children. You must look for very specific things in a partner then.
Yes, I think I've worked that out. I think people assume when you have a fairly demanding job that you have that same demands in your personal life and at home. And it's actually the complete opposite. Shelley and I, we used the word safe haven, and that's what I personally need. And I don't say it generally applies to everyone around me on a similar position. But you want to be somewhere where you can, it's like a pressure cooker where you can just like let go a little bit and show your vulnerability. Because that's really the only place you can do it. And that's essential. And personally, when I've got that, I can climb a mountain.
Yeah. I'm keen to know, has your career and your financial status ever put pressure on a relationship or maybe made it difficult to meet people? You're open to it, but it's maybe what a man feels he can or cannot approach you.
You must ask Shelley that.
I see you looking at her, it's like, that one is not for me.
No, I will give you my comment. Look, the reality is that I don't have much time.
Yeah.
It's difficult to find a routine.
Yeah.
So it is, and in my world, I need to be available most of the time.
24/7. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's not about physical availability only, it's that you miss certain things or certain events. It's also about just being slightly more stressed when I've got a big thing going on in my life. Emotional unavailability, not sleeping at night, that type of thing. But again, the right partner gives you the right answer for that.
Exactly. Shelley, do you think it's difficult for a man to approach a woman who's got a high-powered career and who they know financially is,
Well, I think that if someone is secure within themselves and they have their own passions and their own goals that they're pursuing and they're feeling like they're living their best life, in a way, then that spills over in wanting other people to feel you want to be surrounded by. If you are empowered, you enjoy being surrounded by people that are empowered. If there's no pathology involved, So my experience is that that part of the journey out of feeling insecure is to invest in yourself and what excites you and what you're passionate about, and to feel empowered. And then you're less concerned about other people and what other people think and feel.
So in a relationship setting, should a couple consider seeking third-party sort of assistance where they feel like this financial disparity is starting to become a bit of a problem? Should they do that, or is this something you just sort out at home, or you just, if you can't get to an agreement, you just good night and God bless?
No, I would say that if a couple is feeling stuck on any issue, whether it's financial, whatever it is, that it's always useful to have a third, neutral, objective person that you can just have a mediated or facilitated conversation. And then that topic, the financial issue or the breadwinning issue, then becomes the facilitated conversation about how best can we handle this. And also, what we were discussing earlier is how best can we protect ourselves from external input, because a lot of the time the couple are fine with it, but it's the outside world that has a problem, and in-laws and friends that have got all this negativity about it, when actually the couple are fine about it.
I just have to ask one more question, because I think that this is a big one. Do you think the focus on the woman earning more money in the relationship is actually indicative of a bigger problem within the relationship, maybe insecurities that have not been addressed?
No, not necessarily so. I don't think so. I think that it doesn't have to be indicative of anything. Sometimes people find themselves earning more money unexpectedly. It just happens, and that wasn't what they'd planned, or they never thought that it would be that way. And it doesn't necessarily have to indicate that there are other issues at play. It can just evolve, and when it does, it just needs to be addressed in the ways that we've discussed, in healthy ways.
Nip it in the bud quickly.
Well, to the transparency, say how you're feeling. It is going to have a strong emotional response, and these are mindsets that are as old as time. That the man is the protector and the provider, and so working through that in a healthy relationship, whatever the issue is, you communicate and talk through those things.
times are changing, and so too are relationships. And I think at the end of the day, it really does boil down to transparency and communication within a partnership. It's really just taking into consideration that relationships at the end of the day are partnerships. And
Absolutely.
a breadwinning woman in a relationship is only a problem when someone in the relationship chooses to make it
Hear,
one.
hear. A woman who earns more than her partner is an ally, not a threat. So if I was earning more than Tabiso, trust me,
We're not
he
in a
would be
relationship.
fine with it. Oh, you wish, darling.